Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. If you please honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilor Laurie.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Mendonça.
Here.
Councilor Mercier.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Councilor Nuwan.
Here.
Councilor Broderick. Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Kennedy.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you. Before we get started, I have a moment of silence for Edith Rodriguez, lifetime resident of Lowell, Massachusetts. She was born in 1925, attended the Lowell schools, married August A. Rodriguez in 1945, and worked as a supervisor for the Lowell Mills throughout her career. She was the daughter of the late Joseph and Annelle Michalopis, and is survived by her husband of 67 years, August A. Rodriguez. Her son, Joseph A. Rodriguez, his wife, Lorraine Rodriguez, 2 granddaughters, 4 great-grandchildren, including our colleague, school committeeman Robert Gignac. If there aren't any other memorials, I'd ask that you please rise in a moment of silence and darken chambers. May she rest in peace. Tonight is the second special meeting on clerk oversight. I'll read the notice before we begin. Notice is hereby given as required by Rule 6 of the City of Lowell City Council rules that the Lowell City Council will hold a special meeting of the Lowell City Council in the council chambers on Tuesday, May 29, 2012 at 6:30 p.m. Purpose of the meeting is to discuss matters pertaining to the office of the city clerk, including but not necessarily limited to: first, we have the vote acknowledging the timely receipt of the budget and capital budget for fiscal year 2013, written policies and procedures, 2, ethics law, 3, open meeting law, 4, data entry and computerization of older vital records, 5, board memberships, 6, clerk personnel, and 7, the clerk's fiscal year 2013 budget with strategic goals and objectives. By order of myself, Patrick O. Murphy, this Tuesday, May 29th. We'll begin first then with the vote. In City Council vote, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, subsection 32, the City Council of the City of Lowell acknowledges timely receipt from the City Manager on May 29, 2012, of the recommended budget for the City of Lowell for fiscal year 2013, with the understanding that any recommended revisions, as may be submitted by the City Manager at a later date and prior to the date of final approval of said budget by the City Council, shall collectively be considered for the proposed budget for fiscal year 2013 for the City of Lowell. A public hearing on the budget as advertised in the Sun on, and this is, we're looking at June 12th at 5 p.m. to be held Tuesday, June 12th, 2012 at 5 p.m. and then continued at the conclusion of the regularly scheduled City Council meeting in the City Council chambers and on any such other dates and times as may be publicly announced by the City Council. Second reading by title, in City Council vote. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, subsection 32, the City Council of the City of Lowell acknowledges timely receipt from the City Manager on May 29, 2012, of the recommended budget for the City of Lowell for fiscal year 2013, with the understanding that any recommended revisions, as may be submitted by the City Manager at a later date and prior to the date of final approval of said budget by the City Council, shall collectively be considered the proposed budget for fiscal year 2013 for the City of Lowell. Public hearing on the budget as advertised in the Sun on June 12th to be held on Tuesday, June 12th, 2012 at 5 p.m. and then continue the conclusion of the regularly scheduled City Council meeting in the City Council chambers and on such other dates and times as may be publicly announced by the City Council. What's the wish of the council? Councilor Martin.
Well, I move to approve, but if the hearing is the 12th, the advertisement would obviously have to be before that, right? Is it 10 days, Mr. Clerk?
7 days before
7
that.
days, okay.
Oh, yeah, excuse me.
So,
Yeah.
so with that correction, I'd move to approve.
Motion by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Mendonça. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move into the
Mr. Mayor, just
Mr. Manager.
just for clarification purposes, this also includes the capital budget that will be a public hearing held at that same point in time, correct? Great, thank you.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the city manager, do we have a bottom line figure of what the total of the fiscal year 13 budget is?
Do you have that off the top of your head? It's in the budget book that we presented. I don't have that off the top of my head, though.
Oh,
Council.
you don't know it on the
Not
top
not
of
off
your
the top of my
head?
head, I'm sorry. We could probably look it up very quickly for you, though.
That'd be fine.
Okay. Council.
Any?
Council, the grand total of all funds is $312,135,449.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any further discussion? At this time, then, we'll move to the clerk's portion of the agenda. Ask Mary Sheehan to fill in. Mr. Geary would like to give some introductory remarks. And again, Rule 17, of course, does not apply to the questioning of the city clerk. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, thank you for having me again. This is my second opportunity to speak to each of you, and I look forward to that. I sent you out a memorandum concerning some elements that we are working on and continue to work on in the office. It's really kind of an update about what we had talked about a month ago, a couple months ago, a month and a half ago. In the office is, moving forward with the resources that we have and the outline that I have projected is seemed to going in place. There's a couple of things that are kind of slow moving at the situation, and we can talk about is, the responses about the ethics in the open meeting law. There are a couple of outside factors that are holding that up, but our position, we are in place to move on it, and I can address that at that portion if you'd like. At this point, I can take questions in terms of the memorandum, or I can go over each element of the memorandum, however you wish, and we can go from there.
The first item on the agenda is the written policies and procedures.
As I indicated before, all the procedures and policies are in the computer, and they're electronically distributed to each of the employees down there. Each task that I gave you a list of in the clerk's office is for the most part, a corresponding policy to that task. Those are somewhat pretty standard. They're pretty well set, but there are some changes that are involved. Currently, just to make sure that everybody is kind of in line with everything else, I'm going to have each individual write down what they do in terms of when they get a birth certificate, each one of the head clerks, just so I can kind of mesh them together, take a look, see if they need any improvements, see if everything's running okay, and just to make sure everybody has a knowledge of everybody else's opportunity and an element of cross-training. That's a new procedure that will be coming on board. I don't know what the time frame is because it's a Commonwealth program. The Commonwealth will be issuing death certificates directly as they do now with the birth certificate. So that's going to involve some elements of training which I'm involved with, as well as the assistant clerk in that area right now. And it's moving along as I think some policies in the Commonwealth do, not at a outstandingly quick pace, but we're keeping abreast of it and we're involved in it the whole way. So once that gets finalized by the state, that'll be a procedure written into there, and to make sure that everybody in that office understands that procedures and is able to do it. So that concerns the written policies and procedures. The office is kind of situated that we're really all centrally located. In the office, like I said, is kind of a constant flow of the public is in there. When there is a question on policy, it's either directed towards me or to the assistant clerk, and it's answered right then and there directly. So if there is a policy that comes out, there's individuals there that can answer it. It hasn't been done too often because I think that they have a grasp of the policies, and it is available to them through the online and through their email. So that's the position on the written policies and procedures.
Thank you. Councilor Mendonça.
On written policies, I know you said you sent it out by email. Is there a central location on the server where everyone can find the latest copy?
Yeah, there is. It's centrally located on the file destinations that they're aware of.
Because that's where they need to go to look. Because searching email,
Yeah, you'll never.
it's good.
That's right.
It's a good notice that it's been updated.
Yeah, and when I say distributed by email, if there's something that needs to be addressed, I will send it out to each individually, and they will know and tell them where it's located on the central files.
Is there also a paper copy somewhere in the office in case the computer systems are not? I mean, for things that might not need a computer, obviously.
I don't know the answer, but I believe that there is. I believe that there is.
Okay.
If there isn't, we'll copy them.
There should be a policy manual where everyone can get it at a central location, just in case the server's down that day or whatever. You never know. The server
that may
might
exist.
be down.
I'll have to look into it as well.
Yeah, but you might still be able to access the internet and get to the state server to do some of that. So it would be important to have those procedures available as another means of make sure they don't say, well, my computer's down, so I can't do it, if it's possible to avoid.
Yeah. Well, it may exist, Counselor, but if it doesn't, it will.
Yeah, and also so that any of us could stop by any time and just look at it to see, if we were a new person starting, would it make any sense to us? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think they're pretty, I understand them, so they're pretty simple, I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Martin.
Again, I think that was the point, right? I mean, I imagine most of the personnel in the office today are familiar with pretty much everything they do, but as things change or as personnel changes, this is a resource, I would say, for something new or for a new aspect of an existing procedure or a new employee, that sort of thing, or something that doesn't happen all that often. You have to go refresh your memory.
And I think it's more relevant for that fact, Counselor, about a new employee coming in. And also, sometimes you may get a brain cramp and need to refresh your memory, so it's available there. And like I said, it's pretty. The office is really centrally kind of located, so there are kind of impromptu meetings off and on during the day. If someone has a question, my door literally is open, both doors, and it's a free exchange of information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the first item? Seeing none, motion to accept as a report of progress by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Mercy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have the ethics law. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And concerning the ethics, that what we had spoke about earlier is an outside factor there that's having an effect on our ability to get as much distributed as possible. I gave you a small report about the numbers that are out there now. What we are waiting on is the pay system for the Commonwealth to come into place. I've had several discussions with the director of, Mr. David Giannotti, who's a public education and commissioner and communication division chief. He's in charge of this whole rollout of the 2-year program and the distribution of the yearly packets. He's been away for 2 weeks. I caught him today on his day upon return just to get a kind of an update. So knowing that I was speaking to you individuals tonight, he informs me that there is still a glitch in the pay system involving getting his program on that system. Pay system is run out of the Health and Human Resources Division of the Commonwealth. The issue, he said, is that he was in the queue to get his program, which is all set up and running and ready to get into that pay system. The workers' comp application package was before him. What had happened when they loaded the application for the workers' comp, too technical, too involved, too much happening in that application that PACE didn't handle it well. So that put the brakes on everything else behind it. What they have to do, Mr. Giannotti has informed me, is that PACE has to take that application, that workers' comp application, out of the system. Then they have to test the system again before they put the ethics portion application into the PACE. So this has been going on for a little bit. I sense a little bit of frustration on his end. He assures me that his program's all set. PACE will handle his program because I guess it isn't as technical as the comp program was. And once that happens, I have been in touch with him and I'm on his email list and I check the commission website every day in terms of anything that could be developing. Once that is, they will initiate a round of deadlines that have to be met in instructions about the pay system and the like. So I await that, and he assures me that when he returned, telling me today that he was told that there would be good news for him. When I spoke to him this afternoon, he had not received that good news yet, but he says he just doesn't see it as being too much longer. He hopes it not, but he just, my conversation was just hold on. Keep doing what we had talked about, holding everything back until that system is in place, because you can track the online training and you can track that yearly distribution to all the employees, both city and school, and that's just the best management practice. I think if you sent anything out now, it's just going to bog down in confusion when the second round comes up, and I think it'd be a mess to track. So, and the commission, the ethics department is A-okay with holding things back until they're ready to go. So that's the practice that we have down there, and I think it's once it gets there, it like I said, that it's light in terms of correspondence, in terms of compliance, but once they get the information, they understand that the procedure and how easy I think it is going to be. I'm on pace for some other elements in the office, and those numbers will increase.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Councilman Donta.
Just to clarify, on the ethics, there'll be two pieces to it. There's the one where you have to distribute the materials
Yes.
to the employees.
Summary.
And then it's their responsibility and their management to make sure they go through PACE and complete that training.
What will happen is that I will be giving an administrator, and I think probably the head of the MIS will be it as well, and the assistant clerk. And each individual, each employee has to set up their own account with the system. So that's the element that, we'll send out the instructions about how to do that, and I will assist in that, and MIS will assist in that, any technical questions that they may have, to get everybody tacked into the system, and once they're tacked in, they have a number, and that number is generated, so you know that they'll receive stuff through that system, and they'll be able to, track, okay, he received it, there's an indication that the report will come back, he's received it, and the report will come back that who hasn't corresponded or who hasn't complied, on both the yearly summaries and the two-year online training. And also, the system sends out automatic reminders. And so that's just why it's the best system for us to utilize, and it's just a matter of getting it running from.
So does that system send it out to their email address, or?
Yeah, I think it would be email calculated. Now, there's going to be some issues with that, so they'll be addressed either through department heads or once we find out who doesn't have access. But I think that's probably a smaller number of employees that don't have some type of access to it. But
Yeah, that would be
they won't get through the system. I think we got a net to catch them.
just some of our boards and commissions don't have necessarily city email addresses.
They don't, and again, I'll address that as well when we talk about the boards and commissions and where we're at on that. There's a system in place where I think we'll be best served to capture everybody.
So, okay, if I understand you correctly, so there's going to be an opportunity to send out the materials electronically to email address rather than print out a package for everyone through this pay system.
Yeah.
So that's why you're delaying distribution for that reason?
And the tracking element of it.
And the
And I
tracking.
think, like I said, if the tracking element too is just a lot better suited for the number of employees, both city and school, that we have. And so I think that's an important kind of weight. And the Ethics Commission, their mandate is that hold up, and they'll set up some new parameters or some new deadlines that we'll adhere to.
So that should be ready to go imminently?
Yeah, like Mr. Giannotti tells me that he's ready to go. He's ready to input the system. He's pretty sure that the system is not complicated enough to throw a monkey wrench into pace. He just has to wait on the other end. And like I say, he'll be in contact with me because I've called him quite a bit.
Could you send us a notice when the system has sent out these
Absolutely, absolutely. And
packages?
I'm a little apprehensive because I'd like to have it in place, but I know it's going to happen. I can't say tomorrow. I can't say next week because he couldn't tell me. But he didn't give me any indication. But he believes it's moving forward.
Okay.
But once we get that notification, I'll inform everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Laurie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This procedure, this was supposed to be started, I believe, last February, the change, or last March?
Yeah. There was some changes in the law last year. This new pay system came out probably right around the end of the year. And there was some deadlines. They thought they'd have it done by the end of April, and the glitches started, so now it's just kind of being held back.
And this is going to be state compliance, right? We have to do this?
Yeah, it's
Have they sent you
statutory.
any letters or anything saying that they're having the problem and it's not us?
I have emails from the Ethics Commission, and there's also, on their website, there's public information that just states that. Yeah, I've had correspondence with the state, and I've backed it up with the.
Whenever it comes to compliance with federal and state laws,
Yeah.
request
And I agree
having
with you.
the
I don't want
problem.
anybody, but that won't be the situation because
Okay.
I have.
As long as we have the information and it's them and not us, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mayor. Question I have with regard to the pay system. Is it all employee have an email system with the city or not?
I don't think all employees have an email. Again, I think it might be a smaller number that doesn't have access to an email, but the PACE will have a register number that the employees will have, so they won't need an email for that. But they will need emails to get the reminders and stuff. They can still register with the registration number and have to get some type of access. So I think that's a small amount, Counselor. And we'll have a safety net to make sure everyone gets it.
Shouldn't they all have an email so that in order for pay system to work in terms of reminding, in terms of notification that they have complete the pay system? Shouldn't they have it that way?
That would be the best scenario if every employee, both city and school, had that capacity for a computer, but I don't know if that's the case. And if it's not the case, I think it's a small number that doesn't have access, but there's other manners that we can reach them.
And you would anticipate that this system will up and running sometime in very near future, though?
I anticipate that. And so does Mr. Giannotti.
And you would know, basically, if an employee is not complied with the pay system?
The system will generate a report about who has not complied with.
Wouldn't they report it to you, and also to the
I think from that
individual
procedure,
employee?
if we have a report that says someone has not complied, we'll send a notification out to the head of the department notifying, listen, there's a compliance issue here, you should address it.
Is there a penalty for non-compliant?
I don't believe there is. I don't believe there is, that it's in the statute, but I'm not sure about the penalty element of the statute, just the compliance element.
Thank you for the update, Mr. Clerk.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
So, Mr. Clerk, the training that we took in the past, will we have to take that again?
You took the recent one?
Right.
No, you will not.
Okay.
You will not.
Thank you.
They're saying those are,
And
they're
that-
okay with the state.
That's good for 2 years?
Good for 2
Right,
years.
okay,
Good
thanks.
for 2 years.
Councilor Martin.
Well, yeah, it's not that we never have to take it again, it'll be 2 years.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
2
that's
years, right?
You
And,
took recently, the last test that was rolled out, you're in compliance for the 2 years.
and if I could just follow up on what's required. So, on an annual basis, every employee is supposed to get notice of a summary of the Ethics Commission statute, and then, and also the open meeting law, or just the Ethics Commission statute?
Just the Ethics Commission statute.
So that's the...
Boards and commissions. will open
So
meeting.
just boards and commissions, not every employee?
For ethics,
Yeah. What's the annual requirement?
the annual ethics,
Yeah.
the annual for the ethics goes to every employee, and the a 2-year training program for the ethics goes to every employee. Boards and commissions will get open meeting law statutes, and also they have to do the ethics part.
How often do they need to get the open meeting law statute? Just when they sign up?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So I like the way you've done this with the letter to a new board member, and they get, copies of all these things. They have to acknowledge receipt.
Yeah.
And so then that covers us, I guess, for all time with respect to the open meeting law, but then you have to do the annual ethics. And right now, they have to acknowledge receipt of that summary, right? Which, to be technical, city employees can't do yet because we didn't send it yet.
Yeah.
Right? And we think we're on solid ground because of guidance from the Ethics Commission
Exactly.
on that. And then, so that's every year, and then the test is every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
And Councilman Donta, to follow up, he said, can you let us know when this system is up and running? But theoretically, we will be notified by email, right?
You will, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
From
So we should
a
know.
blast email from my office
Right.
stating this is how you're going to get on.
Right. So we'll know if the system works when it's implemented.
It will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Motion to accept as a report of progress by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we also have the open meeting law.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, in conjunction, the open meeting law was sent to the boards and commissions. We have a report on that in terms of where we are on it. The element on the boards and commissions for the open meeting law is just stabilizing that boards and commissions, which we have it pretty much banged down until all those board members and commission members are. The only thing is there's a glitch in that agenda.net that we have to get to, which is probably going to be my understanding, within a couple of weeks, it's just going to be touched up, so we'll be able to finalize the boards and commissions, and what we'll do at that point is put it on the website in its final form, PDF it on the website, and move forward. The important element of that, too, is that, as you noticed, Councilor Martin, that package we sent out to each individual member is really paper heavy. So it's really trying to, it's extensive, so we're really trying to avoid that. And in working with Mr. Marchand, we're going to identify heads of each board, or who is in charge of each board, to get that information out and to trickle it down to the members. And we'll be able to track it on an Excel in terms of complying, making sure everybody's in compliance. But I think that's the best approach, to find out who the head of the board is, and filter it through that individual to make sure he gets it to the other individuals. Because, again, the vast majority will probably have access through a computer, and if not, we're prepared to do the old-fashioned way in terms of, so no one falls through the net.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Councilman Donta.
I noticed for open meeting law, it doesn't show under school employees. I'm just wondering if we're responsible for the school committee receiving that as well? Or
Yes.
Yeah, everybody.
They're part of the school and city employees.
they are included in that already?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
It's pretty, it's both the items are pretty labor intensive, and we spend a lot of time on it, but I think once we can get everything rolling pretty good, we'll be able to spend less time on it. That's the goal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I could appreciate the effort that's going into compiling the appointment dates and expiration dates of all the various boards and commissions members. But what continues to concern me is the quality of not so much the agendas of the board meetings, but the minutes. And, several years back, we had made a request that certain minutes be provided to the council in our weekly packet. And for the commissions that post their minutes online, that ceased. And I think that's fine. We still do get some hard copies of minutes from various meetings, and I don't want to pick on the commissions that are actually complying and sending them to us. But the content of these minutes varies widely. They don't necessarily correspond to the agenda. We don't often know who was in attendance and who wasn't. So I was pleased to see that there was going to be some uniformity brought to bear through this AgendaNet program, and I just, as that gets implemented, I don't want that issue to be lost sight of. It's more than just the date someone was appointed. The agendas should be posted in compliance with the new open meeting law, and the minutes should reflect the discussion. The minutes should almost look the same for every board and commission. I think that's, at least the way I understand this software, that's how it's supposed to work. And then if anybody wants to find out what happened at a meeting, those will be public, available on the web, and we can help reduce the morass of paper just to be able to track what's happening at the various meetings. So I think that's good for us as a kind of oversight. It's good for the public at large. So if that's not going to be the case, I guess I'd want to know that so that we could do something else to make sure that it is the case. But I can wait until the AgendaNet issue is implemented.
Yeah.
That's my hope that that's what it's going to be.
And I think, like I said, that information I don't have for you because I'm in the middle of it, but I think the program will kind of establish that what happened kind of element. Now, kind of thinking ahead on it, Counselor, the open meeting law says the minutes may have to be a little bit more than just vote 9 yeas, 2 nays, however it is. So with my starting experience doing minutes. I'm probably a little bit more verbal than maybe some of you like, but I think the basic element will be there in terms of the minutes, but it's something that should be looked into, and I think it's an important purpose of it.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, entertain a motion to take as a report of progress by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Noon. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have agenda item number 4, the data entry and computerization of older vital records. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In terms of this item, I'm happy to say that we have all the equipment. We have a scanner and 2 input stations in the office that I was able to get next to the clerk's office, so I'm happy about that. We've had applications in for the Career Center for some interns that should be beginning in June. I'm pretty sure that we're going to get, I requested 2, so I hopefully get the 2 individuals. And because the room is right next to the office, that someone from either myself or the assistant clerk will be able to be in there physically, because we're going to set up a workstation for ourselves that we can tie in remotely to the office next door, so we can work in there and make sure that supervision is proper in that room. So we have those interns. The equipment is there. MIS is going to set up the equipment. We have a scanner and 2 data input entry units there. And so he'll put that together, and we're waiting on, there's a possibility of getting a Lowell that I guess they run an internship through the MIS department, and maybe grab one of those individuals. And lastly, there's trying an attempt to grab an individual that kind of works, an elderly individual that works for the tax benefit, I think the program is. So we've got it there. We're going to move forward in terms of, the numbers will, I think, once we get someone in there that's more of a constant flow, we'll be able to know how many we're going to do in a month. Right now, like I said, it's not a constant attack on the old stuff. And I want to have it kind of even flow, always with somebody on it, just kind of running through, and we'll set up schedules with the clerks that are down there and schedule with the internship, so it just kind of, everybody just kind of keep a steady pace on the thing, and before we know it, we'll be on the other side of it, which would be great. Once we start getting that steady pace, we'll be able to track about how many we can do, in a month, how many are getting done in a quarterly basis, and we can issue that report to that element. So we've been kind of moving forward on that. We've got the equipment, and that's where we're at. So I think I'm happy where we're at on the thing, on this process, and I think it's going to improve as we get a more steady, constant approach to the situation.
Thank you. Councilor Lowry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, how many scanners do you have in the office? Just one. You anticipating getting any more?
Well, we have the...
We purchased one this past fiscal year. We have budgeted for 2 for this coming budget.
So for 3.
So that we'd have a total of 4 altogether. So that when they're completed with the scanning, then each employee will have a scanner that could sit right at their desk and they could scan as they go.
Do these come with maintenance programs or anything?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we won't have to
They
pay.
do, yeah. They're pretty, they're good scanners because you need them just for the amount of elements you're putting in.
Right.
And just as, in terms of this data entry, the scanning part is really probably the easiest part. What has to be done before the scanning is labor intensive, because like we had mentioned before, 1958 is, we have to check from every year to the present about any affidavits that may have been on that record, any
Right,
affidavit.
absolutely,
So we've had
absolutely.
every one we check up. So that's a lot of work, and it has to be done because you're only as good as your last affidavit. And that's why we want to make sure we get everything in there.
I was a history major. It's time consuming.
Yeah.
The information that you're recording on these scanners, it goes to a central location.
Yeah.
Is that in-house, or do we pay someone to store the information?
No, that's in-house.
That's in-house.
It's all going to be in-house, okay. The town of Burlington, I don't know if you knew this, has an archivist. They have someone who's been there. Yeah, that's what he does. And I don't know if it'd be worth asking him or how they do their records. Or
I'll check with, I never heard of a town having an archivist, but,
I was shocked. I was talking to the assistant town manager, Tommy Hickey, and they actually have an archivist. Probably the only one I've ever heard of. But when it comes to state law and records, that's one thing. But these guys can usually tell you how to
and
move
Mr.
the
Hickey
process.
from Lowell?
Yeah.
I'll
Tom.
give him a call, I know.
Yeah, give Tommy a call down there. They actually have an archivist. I'm trying to think of the guy's name, but he's the one who gave me the information. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple questions on how you set up the database. I'm just kind of curious in terms of, and I think Councilor Laurie just kind of touched upon it, I think. How are we setting it up? Are we going by year? Are we going by record? So how are these going to be searched? If you wanted to go in and find my birth certificate, would you go under name,
Yeah, both.
date of birth?
They're searchable under name, date of birth, parents' names. It's pretty
Well,
extensive.
there's
You
a
could
lot of
search almost anything.
Capabilities on it.
So you enter in I guess a screen of information and it automatically plugs it in?
Yes, there's a search screen.
Okay, but when you put you have to type in the
Scan it
information,
in,
scan
You
it,
got an input, yeah.
then you got to put in my information,
Yeah.
whatever and it's the same screen for everybody, so it automatically just poof, sends it over to where it belongs, and that's how you pull it up?
Yep.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Councilor Mendoza.
Now, this report, you listed 1958's done, you're working through 1959 now. We're just talking birth certificates right now, is that correct? Yeah. So when the state rolls out the death certificates, you'd have to kind of repeat the effort for those, is that true? Or,
Yeah, well, we would.
okay.
All right.
Now, it's stated that you've already completed in 1958. You got
Yeah,
about
there's some for a
1,000.
couple out-of-state documents that we were waiting on, but
You got about 1,000 from 59. How much of that was done in the last 3 months or so? Do you have?
From February till now, since our last meeting, there was 1,142 records scanned only. No entering, they were already entered, they were just scanned.
All right, so the data entry part was already
already
done.
done.
Just need to do the,
Yep.
so that's a substantial number of records.
And
so
I
that's
think
pretty
it's
good.
important, the scanning's the easy part. The shepherding up from 1959 to the present, because it just wasn't indexed that way. It's not indexed the way you go to the record, you'll see affidavit, 1974 affidavit. You got to run them up, and that, you have to, and that's part of the work.
I guess the good thing is if we work towards the present, there'll be fewer years to search as you
Exactly.
complete more of it.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to seeing light at the end of the tunnel, Counselor, and we're getting there. We'll get there. I don't have any qualms about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one more question. Today, when we do these records, you get the affidavits and the changes. Do we do them now in the same year? Or are we doing what they've always done in
Well,
the
an
past?
affidavit, like in a 1958 birth, all of a sudden someone could realize, whatever, in 2011, they'd have to do some type of change to that birth certificate.
Right,
So
right.
that's how it's been done. Now, I think we track back now, if we look at a record that's been recently done, it'll say there's an affidavit attached to it.
Affidavits that are completed now for anything that is in the computer is scanned and updated at the same time, so it's scanned right to, the system that we have, if you already have a scanned image attached to the index, you can add this to the front. So you're technically scanning the document, but you're adding it to the front of the image.
Oh, good.
So that, and then you would update the data that's in there.
Good, great, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Entertain a motion by Councilor Laurie, second by Councilor Broderick, to accept his report of progress. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Next, we have board memberships. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I touched on this earlier when I talked about the agenda.net and the capability that we're close on this, and it's going to be a nice thing to get behind us and identify individuals that are the main people on the boards that can trigger that information down below, and that's where we're at on it. So,
Councilor Kennedy.
How many boards do we still have to do?
I think the boards are all done. I think it's just
The boards are all done. There's a glitch with the expiration date. So for what we have currently is completed, up to date, verified by the law department. So right now, we're just waiting, within a couple of weeks, that glitch should be taken care of, and it's basically the council's expiration dates that we need to change, and that's it. The rest of the boards and commissions that we have in the system are up to date.
It's the city council's
Yeah, it has something to do with the expiration date. We had put in an expiration date of 2 years for all the city councilors. But what's happening is when you go in to change it because of, say you wanted to change a month or a day, we put them in, I think, January 3rd, whenever the inauguration was. They want it for January 1st. So in order to change that date, we have to delete that they call it a new membership. We have to delete that one and then add you in again versus just going in and changing the expiration date, which
Okay.
I said it would be a lot easier because we've already added everybody in, all their subcommittees, all their chairmanships, so we have to delete everybody and then add them in again. So rather than do that, we asked if we could just change the expiration date, which they're working on because they said it's a glitch. If you can't just change it, then there's something wrong with it. So they are working on that part. So once we get that part, the boards and commissions on agenda.net will be complete, but will not be rolled out until the minutes and agenda part is done.
Okay,
Because it's an entire package, so.
But we'll put a PDF on the website.
So that's a software problem, too.
And when that gets going, another great feature of the program is that it'll notify, like in 3 months if someone's expiration date is up, a report will generate saying such and such on the historic board is expiring on such and such a date. That way, we don't get caught in having all the holdovers and missing expiration dates, so it can be a constant flow of information.
Okay.
So,
Do we know at this point everybody's start date and when their term expires for every board and commission?
For the most part, there's a couple of boards and commissions that have a multi-year term. It's not an actual term. It doesn't say 2 years or 5 years. It just says multi-year term.
Yeah.
So what we did for those was put an expiration date of 5 years, because we're not really sure. It just says multi-year term under the statute. There's not an actual expiration date, so there are some that, because we needed to put in an expiration date, put 5 years from the beginning date, because we weren't really
It's
sure.
like a judge, you get the lifetime appointment.
It's like that, huh? Can you explain that a little bit better? The statute says the multi-year, or the
Well, I
appointment
shouldn't
was
say
made?
the statute, the synopsis of each board and commission.
Yes.
Some of them have a statute. Some of them say this appointment is for a multi-year term. It doesn't have an actual expiration date.
Okay,
So in order for the program to work, you have to put in an expiration date. So we had to use either a 2-year, 1 year, some kind of expiration date, and we picked 5 years.
okay. That sounds fine, except that when everybody's appointed to the board, the appointment that comes before the city council will state how long the appointment is for, right? Nobody was appointed and it said multi-year.
Let me explain. Some of the boards and commissions are based on your job title or department head. If you're the, DPW commissioner, you're a part of a certain board or a commission, so you don't actually have an expiration date.
Right.
Does that?
Okay. I understand.
Some of them are like that as well.
You're an ex officio type member.
Right.
Yep, okay. So, are there boards that still have, we have boards that still have holdovers, right? That have not been, that the city manager has not filled those?
I think there might be some,
Might be a
yes.
few.
Yeah, okay.
But they're cleaning up. They're clearing up.
Well, a lot of, the big ones are cleaned up, but I think there's probably still some,
Yeah, but it's clearing up a lot.
yeah, okay.
But as the new appointments come in now, we're taking care of those right away in agenda.net, so there is no, from 2 months ago, we've been taking care of those in agenda.net, so it should be right up to date, other than what's still in holdover status.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Kennedy's right. When they come before the council, they usually say 2 years, and that brings up a good question. Some of the boards and commissions, we don't vote on, they're just appointed, and we get a letter. With those letters, so if I see 5 years, I should just assume that's the multi-term,
I don't know.
multi-year.
Some of them are, by statute, some of them have a 5-year term.
Yeah,
The letters are done by the manager's office, so some of the statutes, and I could pick out the names of the boards for you, I don't have them with me, but
yeah.
I'm trying to think of what they are. They're not, I don't know if they actually consider them boards or commissions, or if they're committees.
I'm just thinking for the council, what we could put on there so we know it's a multi-year and not a 2-year, 3-year, because we don't vote on all of them. So when we get the letter saying so-and-so's on a commission, and there's no expiration date, you know, just so for us to know which ones we're dealing with.
But in those letters, Council Laurie, you might want to check with the manager's office, because they generate the letters. On Wednesday after the council meeting, we use whatever appears before the council. Those are what we use to update the agenda.net. As far as the letters, those are generated through the manager's office.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mendoza.
You mentioned in passing the website. Obviously, agenda.net's different. Is it going to be integrated with the website, or are you going to have to generate a PDF each time it changes?
I missed the first part of it, Council, sorry.
Well, you had mentioned that we still need to update the website. You were going to put a PDF
Yeah.
with a new list?
Until the agenda.net gets all of it on the website.
Oh, it will
I
be?
just want to get that information out to the public.
Okay, so, but it will eventually be integrated, so when the agenda.net database changes, anyone who looks for it on the website will get that updated
Yeah, and
information.
I believe that's the only way, because it has to all go together. The agendas, the meetings, the minutes, it has to all go in that package together. So instead of waiting for that all to come together, we'll PDF the finality of the boards and commission, because there's a lot of inquiry about it, and we just want to get accurate information.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to see the inaccurate information on the website gone and replaced with something more accurate. If it's just a PDF for the time being, that'll be an improvement.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item? Entertain a motion to accept as a report of progress by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. The last item on the agenda, we have, the second to last, we have clerk personnel. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, say that working with the staff down there has been a great experience. They're a hardworking group of individuals. Angela is a terrific worker and a terrific person to aid in running that shop. There's a lot, the challenges that you have are challenges that we can overcome, because I believe there's some lines of communication that are opening there, and the lines of communication in my office doors are always open to each individual. Angela and I are members of the Massachusetts Clerk Association, which is a good organization to gather information, and I believe that they have a meeting coming up sometime in June that I probably will attend. And I'm a member of a Massachusetts Clerk Yahoo Communication Center, which I find very, very well attended by all the clerks in the Commonwealth. And it just kind of, if you have a question, you put it out there to the other clerks, and you get a lot of good feedback on it. So, I mean, I think, in speaking with each individual clerk, I think our top priority is public service for the individuals that are working out the front. And I've had, since I've been here, I think maybe one complaint on e.gov, is it? And it was addressed, and so I'm pleased about what's going on there, and we'll always move forward.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Councilor Mendoza.
Part of what you have under clerk personnel is you listed that you staggered the hours and for lunch, and I understand the need for that. How often do you review that to make sure you have appropriate coverage, that you're not overstaffed in one part of the day and understaffed in another?
There's always 2 lunches that we have to cover. But if somebody's not, you got to have at least 2 people on the front desk, which is tough. I'd like to have 3 up there, but There's some medical issues in the office, and there's vacations that are tough to schedule around, you know. Our most valuable resource down there is the personnel. And so that, you know, sometimes we might have to do a 3 lunch, so have ample coverage on the counter. That's the goal, always have coverage on the counter.
Okay, and how often do you, as the clerk, review how that coverage is being done so that making sure it satisfies the public?
Every day, there's you know,
Every
if I know there's going to be individuals out, then we'll send along an email saying, okay, we're going to do 3 lunches today. So there's 2 coverages, 2 people on the front desk at all times. Yeah.
Okay.
I you know, like I said, I got the one complaint from e.gov, and it had to do really with off the service, some other matters.
Yeah, there's the lunchtime coverage. There's also, I think, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour at the end of the day. How's that working?
Fine. It's, yeah, they rotate coming in that hour, and they rotate, you know, who comes in the early hours and who's going to stay later. So that's working out.
Okay.
The issue you have is that if you have vacations and all of a sudden someone may call in sick, or 2 individuals call in sick, then, you know, you've got to deal with it. But we try to schedule as tight as we can to having enough personnel there. Challenge sometimes, but that's the attempt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. City Clerk, our employees in the clerk's office are all cross-trained,
They are, Counselor.
because I wouldn't like anyone from the city to go up there and the business they want to do can't be done because that person's out on vacation or something. That's not happening
No, I
there.
haven't noticed that at all.
Okay, what about the pit bull registration? We have an ordinance about pit bull licensing,
Yeah.
and how is that going?
Those, you know, there are some questions on that. They're more of a legal question, you know, in terms of what's an accredited dog training center. So I've been working with Assistant City Fenton if there's some questions like that. My function is simply, if it is what it is, this is what it costs to register them and go through that whole process, you know. I wasn't here when it was implemented, but I guess there was a little bit of an uproar from dog people and other individuals. People have questions on it. I address them. I want to address them, and they seem to understand.
So the dog license in general is going rather smoothly? What is that, January that?
Yeah, and like I said, our office does a lot to remind people that if you get a license in December, you got to get another one in January. They only run from January, so sometimes there's some confusion about that, but it says it right in the license. So, you know, I think there's information out there for the general public to understand and to accept. Some people don't accept it, but it's out there.
Do our employees in the clerk's office understand the ordinance that was passed with the pit bull registration?
Yeah, I think in a general sense they do. Sometimes there's legal questions that someone might raise that they probably wouldn't know the answer to, and I can address it. And if I couldn't address it, then obviously if it's a legal opinion, we have a law department here that is quite capable of doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Lowry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of weeks ago, I noticed in the paper, there was some type of activity on a Saturday in Lowell where you could get your dogs vaccinated, the different shots.
Yeah.
And you could get them licensed.
Yeah.
How did that work out? Did you
Great.
get them?
I thought it worked out great. That was the first, I've heard of it. I went to it. We had a couple individuals that were working it. I think there were like 800 dogs. Was that? No.
Not
800.
licenses. They were there mostly to get the rabies.
Yeah.
If
Right.
they were a Lowell resident and didn't have a dog license, they would purchase one at that time.
Yeah, and you didn't have to pay the late fee if you got it done that day. And it was well attended. It was constant. I think it was 8 to 12 down the DPW garage, and it was a service I think the public appreciated. And
Would it be worth, in the future, for the city clerk's office, if we had something similar, to have it staffed, and does it pay for itself with licenses?
yeah, I mean, it was staffed. Two individuals were in there, the staff. So that's all you needed.
Because
I think it's
sometimes,
something that's been done for
Yeah,
the last
it-
few years.
you know, it's hard for a lot of people to get down here Monday through Friday, so if it's a Saturday, they're more apt to go down there with their dog and get the license.
It was on a Saturday.
It was, yeah. And you did sell a lot of licenses and
Was
things like that.
Steady flow from 8 to 12.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Donta.
Related item is the cash boxes. I know the last time was reported, each of the individual head clerks had their own box, and then there was one that I think that was shared by the clerk and the assistant clerk.
Yep.
I mean, since then, it's just been in the back of my mind that doesn't seem appropriate, given that everyone else has a box. I'm just wondering, wouldn't it be easy just to have every individual have their own box and be responsible for their own
They
cash?
do it with the exception of myself and the assistant
Well,
clerk.
that's what I'm thinking. How much more would it be to split that up as well? So every individual in the clerk's office has their own cash box and their own accountability.
Yeah, I don't think it would be, I don't use it out front that much, and I just think we'd have to try to, where we get the cash from to fund another one. But I don't see it as an issue, but like I said, if the policy is everyone to have one, then maybe, you know.
Yeah, I think it's almost an exception to the rule for the clerk and the assistant. I think it'd be easier for the accountability part if each individual just had their own cash box
Okay.
with their own petty cash that they would be individually accountable for. They didn't have to rely on anyone else.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
The cash block policy is working pretty well too, as opposed to the other policy that we have, but
Okay.
I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Noon.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Clerk, the receipt, do we have it, like, say, pay to the, receipt that they pay to the city clerk?
Yeah, there's a stamp.
So it's stamped now, right?
Yeah.
So it's all
Based on
working.
Council Mercier's suggestion, and it was, everyone gets a stamp from the clerk's office,
Very good. Thank you, sir.
pre-printed receipt.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this item?
Just
Councilor Kennedy?
two fast questions. Just to go back to that cash box thing, there are, what, 4 head clerks there?
Yes.
And do they all have their cash box open all day? Is that how that goes?
Yeah, they manage their cash box all day.
But you and the assistant clerk, you don't do that all day. You do other things?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
that's the reason.
That's the reason why you don't have your own
We're
cash
not
box.
up front. It's just too much.
It's
you
just
know.
to fill in, or if there's overflow
Yeah,
or that
yeah,
type of
exactly.
thing?
Yeah, you could run
because-
into union issues with that as well. We help out when there is a need, when there is an employee short, or,
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
and it's tough to get from the back out to the front sometimes, but
okay. And in the, did you request a new position for this year?
I did.
Okay,
I did. And I got an indication back from the manager's office that it was not approved.
yes, that's what's indicated here, too.
And that's just the next, no, well,
Was that for an additional head clerk?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Any further discussion under this personnel item? Entertain a motion to accept as reported progress by Councilor Laurie, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. The last item on the agenda is the clerk's fiscal year 2013 budget proposal with strategic goals and objectives. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. When I submitted the proposals to the manager, I CC'd a copy to each individual counselor and to the mayor, just kind of proposing about what I would hope, moving forward on the office, and kind of said level funded with everything that we had, understanding that. I did put in for a new position, and I just received a notice down today that wasn't approved, but, our most valuable resource is the personnel, and I'm here to, what I have down, I'm here to work, and we'll get everything done that needs to get done, so we move forward. I like it, but
Kennedy.
we move forward.
Were you happy with the rest of your budget for this
Yeah,
coming fiscal?
my thinking was I kind of kept everything level funded as the way it was. We changed some expenses inside the budget.
Right.
Because we saw that we were spending some more. I was hoping that would indicate maybe trying to get that new personnel, which is, it would be helpful. I mean,
Yes.
every department would say that.
Can I just explain something on the personnel?
Yes.
We have 2 employees that come in, 3, the clerk, myself, and another employee that work 8 to 4. If you have an employee that's sick or out on vacation, that's 2 people that walk out of that office at 4 o'clock. There is sometimes 1 person that works 4 to 5. So with the additional personnel, it would help out tremendously. Because 1 employee is waiting on the counter for an entire hour themselves. Whereas in the morning, there is myself there as well to help out if it's needed.
Okay. When are the busy times at the counter? Is it at lunchtime or in the morning, or is it all day long, or is there, when do you find that it's busiest?
For the most part, it's pretty busy.
Yeah, it's pretty constant.
Yeah.
It's pretty constant.
Pretty level?
Yeah.
It's, okay.
Tuesdays and Thursdays would be our busiest because those are the days that we do affidavits and corrections. We had to limit it to 2 days because we just don't have the time or personnel.
Yeah, and
Takes
that's a
15, 20
longer-
minutes to complete a,
Yeah, that's a longer procedure. So we kind of said, these are the times that you can come in and do them.
When you say, so if I came in tomorrow, Wednesday, and I would ask for that, but then I'd have to pick it up on Thursday or the next Tuesday, is that what you mean?
you'd have to come back Tuesday or Thursday between 9/11 and 2 and 4, correct?
Okay. And would it be ready for me then? Or is it,
No,
That's
that would
something
be
that
the
gets
time.
that's
submitted
when
to
I
the
would
state.
start? Okay. So it would be a wasted trip if I came tomorrow, right? Is that kind of how it goes?
Yeah, but there's information on the website indicating that though,
Yeah,
as well.
okay.
Thank you. Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess you're not going to get the position for next year,
Doesn't seem like a council.
but a lot of the departments, what they've been doing is going to overtime. Now, we were just talking about the dog licenses on Saturday, or maybe extended hours on Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights. Do you think it would be beneficial to pay the overtime?
We don't
to
have
stay
overtime in our budget.
You don't?
No.
Well, you don't?
We did, but it was taken away
Right.
some years ago.
And I think the idea is instead of putting is $32,000, $35,000, $36,000 into an employee plus benefits, the overtime would be much, much less.
I don't know. I mean, I think the overtime gets costly sometimes, you know? So I don't know the answer to that.
I was just wondering if once a month would it be worthwhile to keep the office open on a Tuesday or Wednesday night when City Hall's open anyway? You do a lot of marriage certificates, birth certificates, death certificates.
We were
Those type
open
things.
at one time, Counselor, on Tuesday nights, the same day as the council meeting, which I can honestly tell you, they stopped the practice because there wasn't a lot of people utilizing the,
Yeah.
They weren't coming in.
I stay here until the meeting's Tuesday night. No one's ever knocked on the door to come in for anything.
Yeah, it was just a question, because you only have one employee from 4 to 5, so how do you eliminate that flow if we opened other hours? And just on your response to that Saturday situation with the dogs, and the response, I was thinking along those lines. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a way for us to track, for you folks to track, for us, the flow to see if there is? I understand it's.
Yeah,
you know,
we've got, Council, we've got some software that's going to be beginning July 1st that's going to be able to track everything that's taken out of that office. So that's new. It was part of my goals and objectives. So July 1st is software that's going to be implemented in there to show, business certificates going out, death, birth, marriage, everything that's tied into a munis account, basically. And you'll be able to see how many are generated on a quarterly basis, monthly basis, or however the report is generated.
Because it may be worth investing in some overtime or even a part-time position for the afternoons, if the afternoons tend to be more busy and we're short, and if we can't adjust to have,
Yeah,
two
and
people.
my thinking of that too is just thinking, I had the rotating of staff into the backlog of scanning. Rotate them in. One more would be, just have a better rotation, so.
Oh, we definitely get more done, there's no question.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of work to be caught up on and get done that we could use probably
Yeah.
2 or 3 more people, I think, if we look around the state to see.
I think at one point, not too long ago, was staff with 8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we're much lower.
overtime is great, Counselor, but we tried to offer the overtime for the employees for this Saturday's rabies clinic. We had one person, even with overtime,
Yeah.
that was willing to do it.
All right. Yeah, I did have one more question, but now I forget because that surprises me about the overtime, but it is what it is. I guess if we can find out maybe when the most busiest
Yeah.
parts of the day are, and if,
I think that'll generate for each, that generates going to be what's going out of that, what's
and
getting printed.
the question came back to me now, back to this train of thought. Is there a way to get interns in to help supplement? I know you went out to the Career Center, was it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll get some interns in there. I think this June, the Career Center, this month, the Career Center will send us to. And
Maybe the university, Middlesex
Yeah.
Community College as well?
I got my oars in a lot of water, so I figure I got a stroke on something.
Yeah, we'll catch you. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thanks. Just along the lines of what Councilor Broderick was saying, I mean, even if you were to get let's say a retired person or somebody that would be willing to do it for, 16, 20 hours a week with no benefits that could fill in late in the day or early in the morning or whatever to fill in some of that time, that would be less than what a full-time position would cost.
Yeah, it would.
Certainly, and might take care of some of the strain that would be on the.
I think an individual like that would be more. I'd be prone to have her do the scanning.
I'm sorry?
Have her prone to do the scanning part of it.
Yes.
Yeah, that would, as opposed to working anything other than that.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Just
Councilor.
on the point about the affidavits and people having to come in,
Yeah.
and you say that's on the website, so they're warned, but
I think there's information about that anyways.
what exactly, why would I need that? If I were changing my name?
Yeah,
Or-
no, if you were, if there was a question of change of paternity on the,
Virtually everything.
everything,
Change,
anytime you
name,
change that
date.
document, you have to do an affidavit.
Correct.
But why would you ever change your birth certificate? I mean, if there's a paternity order or something that changed it, but that's
Part
a
of it.
somewhat extraordinary.
Some of the birth certificates come back as there's not a name on there. There's baby girl such and such, so. they come in.
Clerical errors.
Okay,
Adoptions.
Adoptions.
okay. Death certificate's pretty final?
And the last word.
Any further discussion on this last item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept this report of progress by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted.
Move we adjourn,
Motion
Mr.
by
Mayor.
Councilor Kennedy.
Wait, no second yet on that adjournment, right?
That's
I know,
correct.
thank you. If I could just say one
Councilor
thing
Mercier.
before we leave. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, we won't meet again because we're on a summer schedule. We won't meet until Tuesday, June 12th. Having said that, there's two events that I want to just publicly say, if that's all right. On Thursday, June 7th, from 4 to 8 on Jackson Street, there'll be a festival celebrating art, creativity, and the adventurous spirit of the Jambra neighborhood businesses and residents. They'll be setting up booths in the Lowell Community Health Center. We'll be giving free health screenings. So that's Thursday, June 7th. And in that same neighborhood, the Lowell Transitional Living Center will be having a 5 or 2 mile walk through the historic downtown. That'll be on Sunday, June 10th, to benefit the Lowell Transitional Living Center. The festivities start at 10:30 to register to vote, for the walk, and the walk starts at noontime. Registration fee is $25, and the students $12, and that's to benefit the Transitional Center. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. And again, June 12th will be at 5 p.m. will be the beginning of the budget discussions. We have a second by Councilor Broderick. All those in
Yes.
favor
Thank you.
signify by saying aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council for the opportunity.
Thank you.